Welcome back. Today, as part of my ongoing chess development, I'm going to try to solve as many puzzles as I can on chess.com. I'm not going to do the random puzzles with my regular puzzle rating. I'm going to do Puzzle Rush Survival. If you haven't played that before, it supposedly starts with very easy puzzles, although occasionally some of the early ones aren't that easy, and then gets successively harder as you go. If I'm not mistaken, you get 2 misses before the third miss knocks you out entirely. My record, as you can see at the upper right there, is 38. That one I didn't get on video because I was recording, but I can't remember now if the mic wasn't working. Something happened that I couldn't upload that video, so the highest I ever got on video was 37. So part of my mind is focused on beating that score, but mostly I'm just trying to get better at chess. These videos do usually take a long time, so bear with me. Again, this is for me, not for you. Hopefully you get something out of it as well, but mainly I'm trying to improve at chess myself. I don't know why there's a countdown timer. Okay. This first one looks like it's just going to be a checkmate down here because that's check, and then I go with my other rook and that's mate. Okay. Okay, this one looks like that's just checkmate in 1 as well because the bishop will be guarding. And the little rows of green check marks here, I think, are links to the puzzles, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, here again I have a back rank checkmate because I am not in check. They'll have to capture with the rook and my other rook will capture. And that will be mate. And this one is even easier than those because it's just a simple checkmate here. I'm not sure why that one was rated higher, but it was. This one also looks easier than the first couple to me because it's so cut and dry. The bishop guards the other getaway square. I hesitate just a little bit in places like that. Hopefully I edit out most of the hesitations, but I just want to make sure I have it right because also while I'm talking, that takes away some of my concentration as well. But this looks like a checkmate right in front of the king. My queen isn't pinned or anything, and I'm not in check, so that is checkmate. And now we've already gone from rating a 153 up to 407. It looks like that's checkmate as well. None of their pieces are guarding f7, and my knight is, so the king would not be able to capture. And again, I'm not in check. My queen isn't pinned. Okay, this one's going to be a little harder. We're going to have to do some counting. I'm guessing because of the low rating that it's not going to be very complicated, but it's definitely not a mate in 1, like those last several were. This one, I assume I'm going to have to move this passed pawn, because moving my h-pawn doesn't do anything. It's stuck, it can't go anywhere. The only thing it could do by moving forward is to keep them from occupying h5, which I don't think is important in this puzzle. If I move that forward, I think they're just going to move forward, and then they're going to, no matter what I do on the next turn, they're going to take that pawn, and then they're going to promote in 5 moves, because they'll have to get their king out of the way. It's possible that moving my king is one of the moves, but I also don't think that's right. Let me just think about that for a second. All that does is stop this pawn from moving forward. What would they play on the next turn? I assume they would come after my h-pawn, and then if I moved my a-pawn, because again, that's my only hope of winning is promoting this a-pawn, they're going to take mine, and then when I advance, they're going to get out of the way, then I advance. I'll still promote before they do, though, if I move my king first. Okay, what if I don't move my king first? What if I move my pawn first? That was my original assumption, that that's my best move. But in that case, again, I assume they're going to go for my h-pawn. After giving it some thought, I don't think they want to advance their h-pawn. They just need to get their king out of the way of their f-pawn. Because before they can go anywhere with that h-pawn, they have to go here, they have to capture my pawn. Then they have to get out of the way. To advance this pawn, which is 1 move from being on the same rank as their h-pawn, all they have to do is get out of the way, and I don't know which way they'll do it. They might go there, they might go here, they could go to any number of squares to get out of the way of their h-pawn, of their f-pawn. So let's say I don't have any moves, and it's their turn. They get to move to promote their h-pawn. They have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 moves to promote that. To promote their f-pawn, they need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay, I was right. It would be faster for them to promote their f-pawn. So we said 6. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to promote my a-pawn. Can they stop it? They are technically in the square. The square of the pawn, if I'm not mistaken, is the square here, however many rows you are to completion. As long as the king gets inside that square, I think they can catch it. Is that the case here? Yes, they can catch it. And if they take this pawn, yeah, that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so they would be beside my pawn. If I promoted, they would just take it. And then I couldn't get this pawn because they would come back. So maybe I do need to go with my king first. Yeah, this one required a little bit of calculation, and now that I'm thinking about it, I think I have to play with my king first, because we already said they need 6 moves to promote this pawn. They need 7 moves to promote that pawn, no matter what I do on the right side of the board. But if I just start moving my pawn, they can catch it. And they have 3 pawns that I might not be able to do anything about. So if I play this, is that what they play? If they do, then I'll still have time to get here, which prevents them from going to d3. Then they would have to go around, and then they can't catch me. Okay, so what if they checked? I would still get here, and they still can't go around because my king would be covering d3. So I think I have to move this pawn first, and then if they come closer, I get here. Or if they check me, I go here. And if they do anything else, I'm going to keep running with that pawn. Yeah, this one took longer than it should have for being this early in the survival, but I wanted to make sure I get it right. But is there anything else they can do to stop this pawn other than bringing their king? There isn't. And if I move it again, then they catch it, because they get here and I can't stop them. The only question I have is, should I move my king first or the pawn first? If I move my king first, then what do they play? I assume f4. Then if I move my pawn, they have to get out of the way. Then I move my pawn, they bring this forward. I move my pawn, they bring this forward. They move this pawn. And then I promote. And if they promote, I mean, if they had moved their king there, I would promote here with check. But maybe they wouldn't move their king there. Maybe they would move it here. And we'd promote at the same time. That's it. That's if I move my king first. If I move the pawn first and they play that, then they can't catch this one and I win. Okay, so pawn first. Okay, since they didn't come after it with their king, I don't think they can catch this now. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I would already have been promoted by the time they made their 4th move, so they couldn't come any closer. And we already know that they need 5 more moves to promote that pawn. Now they're bringing their king to where? Is it just getting out of the way of this? If that's all they're doing is getting out of the way of that, I'm still going to promote first. And they wouldn't have even promoted yet. And I would be able to come check, but I don't know where it's going to want me to check. But I'm pretty sure it's just moving the pawn again, since they didn't bring their king after it. Is the main part of this, the hardest part of this puzzle then is going to be what happens after I promote? Where do I go from there? Because that might be hard. Okay. But I'm clearly going to promote first, and there's no reason to not move the pawn now, because I can't stop that one. Oh, it went all... I have a feeling that the opponent didn't make the best moves in all those cases. That puzzle turned out to be a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Okay, this one is not a simple checkmate, because they have a knight guarding that square, h1, and a bishop guarding h2, and I can't get my bishop over here to check this way or pin that knight. But nothing's guarding the bishop. Wait, I almost didn't see that. That's checkmate. It's mate in 1. You see how this is a lot easier than that pawn puzzle. At least for me. They can't block, they can't take, they can't move out of check. Okay. Well, my opponent is a couple of pawns ahead, and they're all passed. I only have 1 pawn. We both have a rook. If I check here, and we always look for checks first, at least I'm trying to enforce that for myself. If I check here, their only choices are to move out of the way, 5 different choices, and then I assume I would take their rook at that point. And then wherever their king moved to, they would have to come back to take my rook, because if they didn't, I would start chopping off their pawns with my rook. And then I would move this pawn, and they would move that one, and I would go here, and they would go there, and I would go here, and then I would promote and be guarding their promotion square. That seems cut and dried. What else can they do? Because they can't just move the pawn here. They have to get out of check. And then when I take their rook, they can't just move the pawn because I'll get it, I think. Okay, well, hopefully I'm right about that. And I can beat their pawn down, I think. Yeah, I'm going to be guarding the promotion square here. Okay. That one also seemed fairly much easier than the previous pawn advancement puzzle. My only safe check is here, which would force the king to come up to h2. Then I assume I would check on f4, which would force them to move this pawn up, and then I would take that pawn, and that'll be mate. But it does have to be a check on every turn, otherwise they're going to be checkmating me here pretty soon. Not while my queen is there, obviously. Once my queen's not guarding these 2 spots, like moving up, they're going to checkmate me. But I think that's it, because I don't think they have any other legal move other than h2. When I check here on f4, they can't go back down because my rook is still there, so they would have to block with the g-pawn, and then when I take their f-pawn, that's mate. That was a 3-move checkmate, so a little harder than the mates in 1s. Here, I do not have a mate on the back rank because their knight is guarding that square. So, can I get the knight to leave that square? For example, If I play rook to f7, what can they do then? They can't threaten my rook because their own pawn's in the way. And if they don't move it, I'll take it and then still be threatening a back rank mate and the advancement of this pawn. That seems like my best move. It doesn't make sense to come over to c1, does it? Because their knight's guarding this bishop. Their bishop would just take my pawn. And, oh, but then I would not have a back rank mate over there either, because then they would have two pieces pointed there at f8, their bishop and their knight. So they could move one there, and I couldn't safely take it. Getting behind the pawn doesn't make sense because it can't advance while the knight is there. Doesn't make sense to move to e1 because this pawn is defended, and it will be doubly defended once they take my pawn. But here they won't take my pawn because their knight's in danger. I don't know where their knight will move, and that's the question. Their bishop and pawn are blocking two of the squares. If they went down there, I would take it, and that would be mate. If they went down there, I would still have mate. So I think it has to be rook to f7, and then wherever the knight moves, that's mate. If they realize that and decide they don't want mate, they take here to guard that square, then I'll just take their knight. And then I'll be threatening their bishop. I'll be threatening this pawn. Okay, rook to f7. Oh, they're just going to give me the knight. Okay, well, I'll take it, I think. Oh, that was it. All right. Their king has taken whatever I had down there, but I'm guessing a rook. It looks like I can follow up with this check here on h5 with my queen. They would only have one legal move at that point. That would be to move back to the g file. I think then what I would do is advance this pawn, my g-pawn, because it would be preventing the king from coming out on f7, and it would be preparing a mate down here that they can't stop. Now, what can they play after I push this pawn? Because that's not a check. Can they check me? They can't, I don't think. They can take this knight. Let's think about this. What can they do now? Oh, they could move their rook up, for example, here. So when I check, then their king can move over. But then then what would I do? I don't know. Well, depending on where their rook moved, I would have this pawn with a check if their rook had come all the way up. But that's what I'm going to try. I don't know where their rook's going to go, but I think that's the only thing they'll have to get out of this mate threat is moving their rook. Wait, I move my pawn forward and they come here. I would not be able to get that pawn with check like I first said. So if I go here and they threaten my queen and give their king running room, I would still check, right? And then their king moves over and then I have mate. Okay, I think it's got to be the pawn move. Oh, they did something that I was not expecting. Well, then it has to be taking the knight with the pawn, doesn't it? And then I'm still threatening mate. Only one legal move there, and then that would be checkmate, okay? Okay, that didn't go exactly the way that I thought it would, but it looked like I had mate either way, so it took a little longer than I thought. I'm almost at 20 minutes, but I have got 13 puzzles. I have a check here, but that gives up the queen. Then I would have a discovered check by anywhere I moved this bishop would be a discovered check from the rook. Where would I move the bishop? I don't know. See, check. I assume they would take. What if I just dropped the bishop back one? Then they would have a couple of choices. They might even put the king up here to get out of check and block both of my doubled pawns. My queen's in danger, so I should probably move it. I don't think it's taking that bishop because then they just get my queen. I'm in trouble. This one's also giving me some trouble. One thing that I am looking at that I haven't mentioned yet is this pawn and the discovered check here on their queen. But I don't know. Obviously, I can't move that pawn forward right now because my queen's in the way. So what if I checked here? Wait, maybe that's it. When I check here, they take my queen, and then I check with the pawn, which wins their queen. So I would get a rook and a pawn. A rook and a queen for a queen and a pawn? Because at first I was thinking it might have to do with the discovered check by moving the bishop, and then I would try to move the pawn and take their queen with this bishop. But I hadn't got that far yet until I went back to this pawn, because it does look like here they wouldn't just move out of check, right? Because if they did, I would have mate. They would block with the bishop and then I would take it. So I would end up with checkmate there if they don't take back. So I think they would take back. Then I would check with the front e-pawn, pawn to e3. And then I don't think, because then the pawn would be out of the way of me attacking their queen. I don't think it would matter what they did then. They could move back to any place on the back rank. They could move forward to anywhere on the third rank, including taking the pawn. So they'd have 6 choices there, but it doesn't matter which of those choices they picked up. I would get their queen for free because nothing's defending it. So I would still have my bishop. I think. Let's try that. Okay, and then it's got to be this and the queen. Okay. That one took a little thought as well, so these are getting a little harder than the originals. This one, the first move seems pretty obvious. It seems like it's obvious that I would take that pawn, that knight with this pawn. and then they would be in check from my rook. But if I take the knight with the pawn, they're in check. They only have 2 legal moves. Obviously, if they went to h8, I would take this pawn and that would be mate. So I think they'll go to h7 at that point, which would prevent me from taking their h-pawn. The rook can go down there to g7. The king would have to go to h8, and that would be, and my rook would be protected by this pawn. Okay, that took far too long for me to see because right now my rook can't get down there. But once I move the pawn, the rook can get down there. So it doesn't matter which one of those they go to. Okay, if they go to the corner now, I take this pawn with my queen, and that's checkmate. If they go to h7, then I put my rook on g7, and the knight's not guarding it anymore because my pawn just took the knight. So they'd have to go down there, and okay, I think I got it. Oh, it was just the pawn. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm playing with the black pieces. This is one of those confusing ones where I couldn't tell which pieces I was playing with because their white pieces are down here on my back rank. Their king, which started down on e1, is over here on h6. It looks like they're about to checkmate me. If it was white's turn, the game would be over now because their bishop cuts off this, and my queen would hit all of these and be protected by their light squared bishop. Okay, so yeah, if I don't checkmate them, they're going to checkmate me. So I need to check them. What do they play when I take their e3 pawn? They would only have 1 legal move at that point, and then I come here and that's mate. g5. Do they have any other legal moves here? They can't take this pawn because of my light squared bishop. They can't go here because of my light squared bishop. And my queen, oh, they could go here. So what do I play? And it's not this because then they could just take my queen. So let's say I check by capturing on e3, and they play here. Then I come into g5 anyway, and that's still checkmate. So whether they go to h5 or g7, either way, I should be able to come back to g5 and that's mate. Because if the king was close, I would be protected by that pawn. If the king's far away, my king prevents it from going any farther. Do they have any other move then if I take on e3? Oh, I guess they could block with the bishop. But then I would take that too, and they would still have the same 2 choices, and I would still have mate here either way. Okay, well, I'm going to capture on e3 then. Oh, they did block with the bishop. Well, I'm glad I saw that because otherwise I would have been really surprised by it. Okay, then I must take it. And then this should be mate. Okay, we're almost up to 1,000 rated puzzles. Okay, I am playing with the black pieces. I have a couple of different checks. I'm not counting the checks right over here on the F file because it looks like they would just take my queen. But I have check with my queen to b2, and I have a check with my rook to c2. One of those must be better than the others. Or there's something else. That's possible as well. But right now it looks like I'm in kind of trouble. Let's see, I would move over. Well, if nothing else, they can draw me here, right? But they could probably get a draw out of that. So I think I need to win here somehow. But can I win material? Like, can I stop their passed pawn? I don't think that I can. They go back to this thing over here where they're going to end up winning my queen for the rook or drawing me by repetition. What do they do if I check here? If they go back, that wouldn't be really smart because I would have a mate after they blocked with the queen. So they would come up one way or the other. Well, no, they can't come up here because of my queen work. Oh, that's another reason to check with the rook first. If I check with the queen first, they have a lot of choices. Now, again, the ones on the back rank would result in mate, but they would have 2 choices to come forward. If I check with the rook here, they only have 1 choice to come forward. But then what do? Oh, then I could check on F1, and that would force them out here. And I could bring the rook back. The queen would be defending it, and that would force, oh, that would be mate. And they would have to give up their queen for my rook. Okay, so I think it has to be the rook first. Rook to c2 check. Because again, using the queen gives them extra options to get out of check. That leaves them only the back rank where I would mate them, or forward where I would check them on f1, which they would then have to come forward again, and I would bring the rook back to c5, where they would either have to take it with their queen or it would be mate. So they would have to take it with their queen. Okay, let's try that. Okay. Now this is the one I'm not sure about. Is this the best move? Because right now, their king has no legal moves. If I put my rook up there. Actually, whether I put my rook up there or not, their king can't move. So the only way to get out of that check would be to block with the queen or take it with the queen. And then I would have the queen. They would still have this advanced pawn, though. Would I be able to stop it? Well, yes, because when I took their queen with my queen, they would be in check again. And then after that, I would win the pawn. Okay. Oh, they did take it. Okay. And then at that point, their king had to go back to h3, and then I was going to win that passed pawn. That puzzle was rated 990 and I barely got it. It took me a second anyway. Here, I think the answer here is that their queen is undefended. I have a check with my bishop, and then I will just win their queen. I think that's all this is. But I want to be sure, so I'm looking around. Are we even on material? We both have 2 rooks, we both have a queen, and we both have 2 minor pieces. So I think that's the answer. Now, if I was really behind on material, that might not be the answer, because that only gains me 6 points of material. I assume they're going to take that bishop, and then when I took their queen, I'll be up by 6 points here. Again, though, they have a passed pawn right in the middle. 2 passed pawns in the middle. But that's got to be it. There's nothing else. No other bishop move makes sense to open up that discovered attack, because that's the only check. That's not a check, and if it was, they could just take it. But here, I think obviously their only legal moves are to get out of check or to take the bishop, and then I would get their queen. I think that's the only check I have, so that makes it a lot easier. I don't have to look at other things. I also don't have any captures until I move that bishop. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Their queen is undefended, and then I will take their queen. Okay. I just noticed my knight and my rook haven't moved at all. This is why opening principles are important, to develop your minor pieces and get your rooks connected, because I've come down here to attack their king with just my queen and 2 bishops, and it looks like I'm doing pretty well, but I left these other 2 pieces behind. They're not helping at all. But my opponent has done the same thing. I suppose we have a mate threat. Moving the bishop to either one of those squares is a mate threat, isn't it? But that means, since it's a puzzle, one of them's better. Because if I move here, I'm threatening mate. But they can get out of that, can't they? I might be wrong. This might be my first missed one, but I'm going to play bishop to f3. It was wrong. And unlike regular puzzles, it just skips to the next one, so I can't, right now, check what was wrong with it. But I'll try to remember to do that at the end. Some of you probably already know. That happens a lot, but that puzzle was only rated just over 1,000. Oh, let's see. The only check I have is here, but then I will... Oh, but I'll get the bishop as well. So yeah, it looks like I should take their rook. When they take back, then I will pin the bishop, and they can't defend it with their rook or anything, so I will win that too. I don't know what that rook move did, but now it's making me nervous. I should just take the bishop, right? Okay. That one seemed pretty easy. I'm playing with the white pieces, so I'm going that way. I think I need to move my king forward. I think the only move that makes sense here is king to d6. And the reason I say that is, obviously, if I check, they're just going to take this pawn. I can't move this pawn, so I don't need to worry about it. Moving this pawn doesn't help anything. Either one of those squares, they could just put their rook behind the other pawn and take it, right? And that looks like why they came down here in the first place, was to get this pawn. So what do they play if I move my king up? They can't move their king at that point. Their king is completely trapped, and I'm threatening mate. Can they stop mate? They really can't, because they could get behind here and threaten a check, but it's too late. I would have mated them down there on a8. So after king to d6, I guess the best they could do is check me, in which case I would just take their rook. Oh, that's what they did. Well, I'm going to take their rook. Oh, that was the right move. Okay. Wow, we got a really easy one here, didn't we? That's easy because that's checkmate. What? Yeah, I don't know why they blocked with the bishop. They should have taken with the knight, but... Sorry, I hesitated because you saw I had a couple puzzles that were pretty hard up there in the 600s and 900s, but that was 1200. It was a mate in one. Well, I'm in check. I have, oh wow, it's one of those that I'm going to have a lot of ways to get out of check. Well, I can't go there because of their knight, so I have 6 choices. Or oh, I could just take it. I almost didn't see that. I have 7 choices. That's pretty embarrassing. I almost didn't see that I could take it with the pawn, but that gives me 7 choices. 6 king moves or taking with the pawn. Okay, well that seems, now that I've seen it, seems like the most obvious thing to do. What would my opponent do in that case? I think they would go after my passed pawn, correct? Once they did that, what would I do? Would I protect it? So it looks like they're getting close to being able to get a passed pawn of their own here, or maybe this way. No, they wouldn't, would they? Because I would take... And when they took, I would take, and then I would have a passed pawn, but then they would go here and they would have a closer passed pawn. Okay. All right, so is that what they would do? Or no, they wouldn't come forward because then I promote and I win. So if I take this, I assume they're going to go for my passed pawn. And it has to be there because this square is not fast enough. And then I don't promote, I don't think. Once they move there, is it going to be bringing my king here to help out with these pawns? Or is it a king move? That seems pretty silly to make a king move since my opponent has the only piece on the board. I'm going to take it with the pawn. They did move there like we thought. Oh, I want to move my king to c5, but I can't explain why for sure. Does it help anything? And what do they play after I play there? Do they take this? If they take that, then I go here. No, because then they go forward again. And then I wouldn't be able to catch that pawn once it comes down through here. I should be playing this puzzle survival more often. And the reason I say that is because I've been doing, on my regular puzzle videos, I've been doing puzzles that are rated between 1800 and 2300. Seems like almost all of them are in that range the last several times. But these puzzles down here in the 1000 and 1200 range have a lot of stuff that I haven't had to deal with much lately. Okay, I'm glad I got the first one right, but I have no idea what the second move is. If I move to protect that pawn, what does my opponent play? Do they do this? And if so, then I push forward, right? And then when they take that pawn, no. If I do this, again, I think they're going to play f5. How can I stop f5? Should I bring my king this way? But then they play f5. And then if I take it, do they push past? But then I'm in time to stop that pawn. The other question is, should I be more worried about f5 than I am about my pawns? So once they start shenanigans over here, maybe I can catch them, right? Let's say I'm on c6. They play f5. That's my assumption. And I assume I should take it. Because if I don't, they're taking here. And then if I take that one, this pawn's passed and I definitely can't catch that. Okay, so c6, f5. I think I have to take it. Then they have two choices, either taking that pawn or pushing past. What if they take it? Am I in time? I'm not in time. So then what do I do? If I take back, they push here, and I'm done. I don't know. I have no idea. Before I give up, what do they play if I advance that pawn? Because I'm threatening to go further. If I advance my b pawn, they won't come here because then I can promote. They have to stay down here to keep me from promoting. Okay, so do they get in front of it? Then I would advance this pawn and being prepared to come forward again, I think. If they go forward, but they might not. They might stay there. Yeah, they might just stay there and do this. But then I would advance. Then they would capture. And then I would protect my front pawn, and then they go. I don't know how to win this one. I'm going to advance that pawn. Oh. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that was right. And then it didn't go anywhere. Oh wow. And already on my end, this video is 50 minutes long. My editing program is going to really struggle with anything longer than that. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to start a whole new video, but you'll see two put together. But I have to break it into 2 recording sessions. But I'm going to leave the browser open because otherwise I'll lose all that progress. All right, welcome to the second half of this video. Again, my editing program can only handle files up to a certain size and length. Otherwise, it really starts bogging down when I'm doing the editing. So I'll edit the 2 pieces separately and then melt them together. All right, but yeah, that last puzzle really threw me for a loop. And I still don't know what the answer is, and I'm probably going to forget which one it was, so I won't be able to come back and check later. But yeah, what do they play next, and how do I get out of it? Oh, I'm playing with the black pieces. Okay, took me a second. I have 2 pieces left. That's it. Wow. My opponent has 2 rooks and a queen, but they're looks like they're uncoordinated and not helping each other out very much. Can they mate me if I do something like push a pawn? Well, if I push that pawn, obviously, then they could check me, but then I could block it. But I'm not in danger of being mated right now. They can't check on this diagonal, except for here if I move the pawn. Their rook, they must have just taken my rook down here or something, but now their rook's out of action, kind of. It's like if you had your own rook that never moved, and it's just stuck behind those pawns. So that might mean that I get time to make a setup move, because I do have a couple, obviously, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 checks with my queen, 5. But none of those look good, so I don't think it's a check. I also don't have any captures outside of this pawn, which also doesn't look good. Okay, so it's something besides checking or capturing, because my pawns don't move backward. That would be cool if they did. Now, I know normally it wouldn't make sense in the way that we understand chess. The pawns are moving forward and they capture forward diagonally. But what if they hadn't moved yet? They got to capture backward diagonally, like so. That would mean all the pieces on the back rank would always be protected when those pawns are back there. But now, because they can also capture forward from the back row, so maybe that wouldn't be fair. I don't know. I mean, it looks like I should put my bishop on f3 and threaten mate, right? We no checks work, no captures work, so it's got to be a threat. What do they play? What do they play? Again, we already said they can't mate me, but I mean, they could check me, but then I would just take it. But they can't check me anywhere on these diagonals. Oh, I guess they would have to put their queen down there. Okay, on f1. But then what would I do? Oh, then I would check. I would mate in the corner. Okay, can they do anything else? Because I'm threatening mate two different places. They can't move their king, and they wouldn't be able to move their pawn once my bishop's in the way. Okay, so going here, threatening mate. What do they play? And their only checks with the queen would lead to their queen being captured. Okay, I'm going to play bishop to f3. Oh, I'm going to capture with my queen, not with my pawn. Because if I capture with my pawn, I'm not threatening mate anymore. But when I capture here, then they can check me. But then I'll just go back. Oh, okay, that one stopped right there. Nice. This one, I'm playing with the white pieces, that's checkmate. Because my pawn guards the two getaway squares and they can't block or anything. That one was rated 1360, and you saw how easy that was. My goodness. Okay, they want to offer a queen trade. Should I say no? I shouldn't take this pawn because of their bishop, I think. Do I have any other checks besides that? Okay, what if I take that? Are they gonna take back with their queen or their knight? They would have two legal moves at that point. I shouldn't do this because their knight can capture. Do I have checks with other pieces? Like, I can't check with the knight. I can't check with the bishop. I can check with the queen, but again, their bishop takes that, and that's bad for me. My queen isn't protected right now, so I would either need to run away, that's not threatening anything either, or take their queen, I think. Because, again, nothing else can check, and the only other capture that I can see is with the rook, but then they would take there. But if they took there, I could capture this pawn with check. Wait, would they take there, or would they take my queen? If they took my queen, then I would have gotten two pieces for one. Right? I would have picked up a bishop along the way, and I think I would be all right. Okay, so let's think about this. If they take here, instead of taking my queen, then I could take their b pawn with check, and then they could just move out of check. If I took here and they took, I could move forward and check because their bishop wouldn't be guarding that anymore. And if they blocked with the queen, I would win their rook. What else can they do then? We already said if they just take my queen, then I take it with my rook, and I went up a piece. And I think we're even on material right now. We're pretty close. Okay. So I think maybe rook for the bishop is my best bet here. Because if they take, I check on c3 and win the rook. Unless they just move out of check. Oh, but I would still win the rook. Okay. Oh, they took my queen. Sorry, my phone just said something. Okay, it was nothing. This one is also just a mate in one. Is it not? That was rated 1482. Easy mate in one. This is not an easy mate in one because my bishop's in the way. If the bishop wasn't in the way, that would be a mate, but the bishop is in the way. So what do? I could check over here, but then they can block with the queen or the rook. I could take the rook. How bad does it get if I take the rook? Well, their only legal move would be to take back, right? Then I would go way over here to c4 with my bishop, and it would be a double check. Rook and bishop check at the same time. And they wouldn't go back because then my rook down there would be mate. So they would go over here. But it turns out that my rook down there would still be mate. I'm pretty proud that I saw that one. It took me a few seconds, but I saw it, and I'm happy about that. All right, here we have any checks. That's not a check because that pawn's in the way, so probably not that. I did just see another rook for a bishop thing here, but should I move the queen there first? What else is there? What else is there? Back up, check my checklist. Are there any checks? There are no checks in this position. Let's just be clear on that. There are no checks in this position. There are no captures in this position beyond rook taking their c1 bishop, which I mean, they could take back two different ways, and I don't really think that gains me anything because even still, this would not be a check because the pawn's still in the way. I would only be threatening it, and they could easily move the queen up to protect their rear e-pawn. So it must be a threat of some kind. But where that threat would come, I just don't know. Is it... That's not threatening anything. That's not really threatening anything. Moving this pawn forward threatens that pawn, and we talked about that pawn. I don't like where it is. But let's back up. Putting this here, even if that pawn was there, it doesn't do anything. The king just moves over. What if I put... That doesn't do anything either. I'm just going to push the D pawn. Okay, that wasn't it. I have no idea. And that puzzle was only rated 1500. Hopefully you saw the answer. Hopefully I'll remember to check those 3 that I missed when I get to the end. I only have 1 miss left and not doing well. Oh, I'm playing with the white pieces. Okay. These things distracted me down here. Do I have any checks? I do have a check. That would force the king here. Is that my only check? Not my only check. That's a check, but not a very good one. They only have 1 legal move. Well, no, sorry, they have 2 legal moves, but they're not going to block with the rook and give it up. They're going to put the king on h5. Then I don't have... The only follow-up check I would have would be this b pawn. What if I play that first? Oh, I can't play that. Oh, I can't play that first or last because I'm about to be checkmated. Oh, right. Well, that changes things. I wish I had seen that at the beginning. I know. My checklist needs to change. Instead of checks, captures, and threats, I need to start off with, can they checkmate me on the next turn? And here they can. That means that my moves have to be checks or I lose. So, my only checks in this position are queen to e6, rook to e... Oh, wait, maybe it's rook to e6. I don't know that it is because then that blocks my queen from doing whatever queens do. Or rook to b7. Rook to b7, they just take it. I'm pretty sure, because then I don't have a follow-up check. Whether I play... No, if I play the rook to e6, they have multiple choices to get out of check. But then they have all sorts of getaways like they did before, and if I still can't follow that up, I have no idea. Oh, that was right. Okay. But now I have to check again on the next turn, and I don't have any checks other than putting my queen here. Once again, if I don't check again, they win. Unless I block. Or check down here. Wait, are we even on material? We're not even on material. They have an extra pawn. Because if I check here, they take my queen, and I take, I'm no longer in danger of being mated. I just have to stop that passed pawn. They're about to take this one, and they'll have another passed pawn. I think that's better than trying one of these suicide missions here, because again, they just take, when I follow up, they just go back here and they're completely safe. So I'm going to check on E1, and that might be wrong. It was wrong. Well, you know what? That's okay. I could tell way back there that I was having trouble. I had trouble with some of the easy puzzles. My conclusion here, before I even look at the ones that I missed, is that I need to do this Puzzle Rush Survival more often. Right now, I am going to look at the 3 puzzles that I missed, if I remember how, and all the links to all the puzzles will be in the description of this video, as I always do. So let's take a look at the ones that I missed. I think what I do is click here twice. Did that please tell me that opened in a new tab. Okay, my list is still good. All right, this is one that I missed. What did I do here? I played that, didn't I? What if I played the other way? That was wrong too. Okay, well, let's click the hint button. It was check. Well, that's embarrassing. I didn't see that. That was actually an easy checkmate. Made in 1. It doesn't have a theme. I'm going to suggest made in 1. Oh, the drop-down menu doesn't show up on the video. But I have added made in 1 as a theme. I should have got that one. That's why it was rated 1065. And I take back whatever I said earlier. Let's look at the next one that I missed. This is the next one that I missed. I got distracted by this pawn and this dark square diagonal, but it apparently had nothing to do with dislodging their rear e-pawn. It was something else entirely. What else did I think of? I thought of taking that bishop. That wasn't it. I didn't think of anything else. Oh, I thought of putting this over there, but that wasn't it. I thought of putting my queen over here, but that wasn't it. I didn't think of that. Oh, that wasn't it. Or that. What other moves are there? There's this move. Nope. That was aiming there. Well, should I just try all the legal moves, or should I click the hint button? I'm going to click the hint button because I don't have that much more time, and we're past an hour on my end, so rook to c2 would be protected by the bishop, threatening the queen, and then winning the bishop. Is that all this one was? It went there, so I should go back to where it's protected by the bishop, or should I move the bishop up here? No, because then they would take it. Fork double attack. It was a fork. I forked the queen and the bishop. Rook's on the 7th? It was a singular rook on the 7th. I don't know if that one counts. Okay. That's all that was forking. Okay. Got it. I should have seen that, but oh, I have to click the play button. Okay. This is the one where I got the first move right. And then I got the second move wrong because I came down here. That was the only thing I could think of to stop this checkmate. How else am I going to stop that checkmate? I have to check. I can't check here. My only checks right now are those two. Let's be clear. My only checks are queen to a6, queen to b6, or queen to... And that's the one that I played, right? Those are my only checks. And I'm pretty sure it's not just blocking their checkmate threat, because then they'll take. And if I take back, they'll take back, and I'm down a rook. Okay, then I am definitely missing something big, because that's not a check, and I can't get my rook to a7. Wait, was it just taking this pawn to guard against checkmate? I'm not sure why they took that anyway once I moved the rook there. Okay. I should have seen that. I got too single-minded on the fact that I had to keep checking, which isn't always true. I did come up with one alternative, which was here, but that didn't work out well, because again, they get both my pieces for the queen. That was the only thing I thought of that wasn't checking. But this isn't checking, but it's protecting against checkmate. My question is, why did they take the pawn anyway? I'm going to go to the analysis board. Is it that they had no other options? Was that it? Where? Right here. Okay, I have a long and involved mating sequence, but that's the one that slows it down the longest. That's why they took there. So they had nothing else that could stave off me checkmating them. Okay, well, just out of curiosity, what if they just did this? Where's my mate? Because, oh, is it just if I take that, is it mate? Because they can't come here or here. Oh, that would be mate. Okay, so I have to do something that keeps this from being mate, and this was their best move that delays mate the longest because it gets my rook out of position. Their next best move was rook to d6, which I would have just taken, and then their best move is still taking this pawn. Okay, I get it. Thank you for coming along on this ride. Thank you for spending your time here. I've spent a lot of time here, and I still have to go copy and paste all the links to those puzzles because some of you, I know not all of you, but a handful of you like to go through these same puzzles, and that's what they're there for. Check out the links in the description. I'll see you next time.